musical riff today, and why not? Because humanities has a wonderful faculty of music here in Oxford. And, well, whilst we're at it, let's test my sight reading. So that was the beginning to Chopin's 10.5-minute waltz, and more on that later in the vlog because it's going to be relevant to what we're going to be doing today. Today we're going to be having some fun. Today we're going to be talking about the language that you use to describe what it is that we do. And let's face it, though we all love our work in this field, when you talk to a scientist, let alone a classicist or a theologian, when you start talking about words like intellectual property, equity, shares, qualified party rights, it all gets a bit boring. Well, I thought after doing that music playing I'd be better off going to work. Right, okay, so I'm going into work now. Chris is filming me from the side. Oh, how exciting. Say hello, Chris.
Hello.
All right, okay. Chris will be joining our vlog very shortly, but I'm going to go this way. Why do you go in front of me, Chris? So, where was I? So yes, it's what we do for a living is very boring, actually. And it's not that academics don't understand what it is that we do, it's just, or they're not incapable, or they're incapable of understanding what we're doing. It's that their eyes glaze over when you start talking about IP and stuff like that. But you still need to be able to communicate. Hello. You still need to be able to communicate the fundamental ideas of what it is that they need to do in order to make an impact with their ideas, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate how difficult it is. I'm not going to give you any solutions. Go, we're going to the lift. It's much easier because you're walking backwards there and it's just so hard. No, we're going to illustrate how difficult it is by playing a panel game. And you'll find out what the panel game is in just a minute. But be quiet. But so this is what we're going to do is we're going to try and get people to explain what the key concepts that we have in tech transfer without using any of the words such as commercialisation and things like that, because it puts academics off. They don't like to use. They're not interested in buying and selling. They want to make an impact, right? So the best way to communicate those ideas is by trying to avoid using those words at all. So let's see how we do. So we're going to play a game called I'm Sorry, I Haven't Just a Minute. And as the 10.5-minute waltz ends in disaster, let me introduce you to our contestants. Here we have Owen. Owen is, go and introduce yourself.
I am a licensing and ventures manager.
What do you focus on?
Oxford University Innovation. My focus is on chemistry and the physical sciences.
And here we have Victoria. What do you do?
Hello, I'm Victoria Sanchez. I'm also a senior licensing and ventures manager in the MedTech and digital health team.
And Marco.
Hello, my name is Marco Palumbo. I'm a senior TDM in the physical science team.
So they've been incredibly good sports, and we're going to play a game which is going to be a bit like Just a Minute, but not exactly the same. You'll probably work out the rules as we go along. I've told them it could be a complete disaster, but it's all going to be a bit of fun. Okay, so the first question to Owen. I am a professor of classics. I've got an idea. What do I do? Talk about the disclosure process.
So here at Oxford University Innovation we have a disclosure process which initially involves...
Oh, a challenge from Victoria.
Disclosure, the word disclosure.
No, I think
disclosure was in the question.
So Owen gets a point for an incorrect interruption there. So you have 49 seconds left to talk about the disclosure process.
Which involves filling in a set of intellectual property forms.
Yeah.
Oh, got an interruption from
property.
Intellectual property. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to Victoria, who gets an correct interruption. continue.
So you'll have a look at these forms that ask you generic questions about your idea, how you've invented something.
And we have an interruption from Owen.
Invented.
Correct. I am going to pass it back over to Owen again, and you can take over from here. 30 seconds left.
They will help you describe this interesting idea that you've had, and anywhere that you think it could create impact. And from here, we will start to look at the possible different markets for this idea.
Interruption from Victoria?
Markets.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to pass this over to Victoria.
So I think what Owen was trying to say.
Okay. You've got 16 seconds left on the disclosure process.
We'll look at where your idea can generate the greatest impact and find out how to make that happen. So that could be maybe someone buying the service or idea that you have come up with, or helping you.
Well done. You've got to the end of the minute, so well done to Victoria. So the scores are 0 to Marco, 3 to Victoria, and 2 to Owen. We didn't get particularly far through the
we didn't.
but it sort of gives an idea of some of those words which are just going to get the academics' eyes to glaze over. So our second question is for Victoria. You've got 1 minute to talk about what is intellectual property.
So intellectual property can take a variety of forms, and so this is part of what we talk about with you, really, to look at your idea and what you've produced in order to be able to get people to use it. So it could be something that you've written.
Yes,
I'm going for hesitation here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give you hesitation. There's 22 seconds of not seeing very much there. So, the correct interruption for Owen. You have 38 seconds left to talk about intellectual property.
So it can take many forms. It can be simply an idea. It could be something that is a kind of nebulous concept. It could be something that can be written down on paper. It could be something that's copyrightable. It could be a text.
Do you know what? I'm going to go for Marco now.
Yeah.
I think Marco was first.
It's the use of the word copyright.
I think you need to introduce the copyright at the right point, but yes. But the way in which it was done was the technical term first before actually describing what it was. So yes, okay. I'm going to pass it over to Marco. You've got 22 seconds to talk about intellectual property.
Well, so the intellectual property is similar to the concept of property, but it's associated to ideas rather than physical objects. So it can have several forms. It can be, for example, registered in the intellectual property office.
We're out of time. Amazing. So this is a very good evidence for why it is so difficult to talk about stuff in this area. We've had about a minute of talking about intellectual property without actually describing what intellectual property is. Okay, so one more game, and this is going to start with Marco. Yeah. So we've got 1 minute starting from now. If I start a company, who owns it?
Okay, so for the set of rules, the University of Oxford has the ownership of the company is shared between the academic that is founding the company, or a group of academics that founded the company, the university itself, and the number of people that are coming in on board and putting the money in to get the company. The company going.
How much do they get?
So the percentage that they get is called shares.
Wow.
Interruption from Owen.
I'm going to go for shares.
Yes, I'm going to give you that. Yes.
I think it was a leading question from the presenter, but
all right, you've got 19. So very good performance there from Marco, but not quite enough to score a point. You have 19 seconds left to describe the extended question, which is how is a company divided up? Go.
So The company is divided up depending on what type of company it is. So if you have a company that is a social enterprise, you would have... I'm really bad at this game.
Right, I'm going to offer social enterprise to anyone who wants to take it. But Victoria, you want to take that one?
Well, I'll just continue. I mean, I'm just going to sort of say that that's one structure and continue from there.
You've got to describe what one is now, though, because I've said it.
Yeah.
You've got 3 seconds left to talk about how companies are divided up. Go.
So the most typical structure of company that we work with is one.
That's it. Well done. So we've actually got a tie there
I'm not
between
sure we've
Victoria and Owen. So I should disclose that Victoria was actually caught revising for this before we started filming this. So thank you very much for taking part in this. I think we've probably illustrated by having a bit of fun that it's really difficult to talk about the concepts of commercialisation without actually mentioning any of the words. I know that you didn't use the word commercialisation, which is very good. But I tell you what, I've had lots of occasions where I've been trying to describe this process to people in the humanities division, for instance, and their eyes slowly glazing over as they lose interest. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed the vlog. Next time we're going to be filming on location, and I'm going to leave that hanging there because we've got a new service that we're going to be launching in the autumn, and I'll tell you more about it then.